Deep in southwest Victoria, black stone channels weave through volcanic rock, past walls that have stood for 6,600 years, and ponds that still hold water today. And for more than a century and a half, the world looked at all of it and called it natural. Then the fires came, and what they stripped bare proved we had only scratched the surface. Around 37,000 years ago, the volcano, the Gunditjmara, called Budj Bim, erupted and sent rivers of molten rock flooding across southwest Victoria. That lava cooled into a terrain of black stone channels, ridges, and hollows that stretched for kilometers in every direction. And it handed the Gunditjmara something no other ancient society had in quite the same form: a ready-made engineering material, already arranged by geology, waiting to be shaped. Their oral tradition describes the ancestral being Budj Bim being revealed in the landscape, transforming into the volcanic country itself and forming this country. Modern geology places the eruption on exactly the same timescale those stories describe. The rock record and the living memory tell the same event. That alignment matters because it tells you something about how precisely this knowledge was held and passed down across thousands of years. What the Gunditjmara did with that landscape was not incidental. They read the lava flows the way an engineer reads a blueprint. Water moved through natural cracks in the stone in predictable directions, and the short-finned eel migrated through the Lake Konda wetlands in predictable seasons. The Gunditjmara built their entire system around both of those patterns simultaneously. They stacked stone walls without mortar across running channels, cutting weirs that blocked the eel's migration path and funneled them into basket traps. They dug additional channels by hand to redirect water where the lava had not already done it. They built holding ponds where harvested eels could be stored alive across seasons, smoothing out the gaps between migrations. The result was a food surplus large enough to support a permanently settled population. Families lived among the stone walls. Children grew up in a community that had no reason to move because the land had been engineered to come to them. UNESCO recognizes Budj Bim as one of the world's most extensive and oldest aquaculture systems. The walls the Gunditjmara built 6,600 years ago still stand. The evidence was never hidden, which raises the only question left. If it was always there in the stone, why did it take the world so long to see it? The Gunditjmara built a food system so permanent that families never needed to move. Does that change how you think about what settled civilization actually means? Or does the label still not matter as long as the engineering speaks for itself? Drop your answer in the comments below. Either way, what happened when fire finally tore the vegetation away from this place rewrites the story entirely. The reason was not ignorance of the evidence. It was the story that colonial Australia needed to be true. The standard account required Aboriginal Australians to be nomadic people who moved across the land rather than shaping it. That framing served the settlers who wanted the land declared empty and unimproved, and it served the anthropologists who needed a simple category. Evidence that didn't fit was pushed to the margins of official records. The Gunditjmara were displaced to the Lake Konda mission, their land taken, their knowledge of the aquaculture system suppressed, and the engineering they had maintained for millennia was relabeled as wilderness. Generations of Gunditjmara children were taught that their ancestors had wandered this country. They were never told that those same ancestors had built a food system older than the Egyptian pyramids and kept it running across hundreds of generations. In 2004, Budj Bim reached Australia's National Heritage List, the first formal acknowledgement that something deliberate had been built here. In 2019, it was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List, the first site in Australia included exclusively for its Aboriginal cultural significance. But even then, the full extent of the system was buried under thick vegetation. The maps were incomplete. Nobody knew how far it actually reached. Then the fires came through. Bushfires burned across the area and stripped the ground cover away, exposing stone channels, walls, and structures that had never appeared on any existing survey. Researchers and Gunditjmara traditional owners walking the burned country together found features that extended the known system significantly beyond anything previously documented. What had been mapped was a fraction of what was actually built. The Gunditjmara never needed the fires to know what was there. They had always known. Their oral tradition, their land management, and their continued stewardship of this country carried that knowledge through every decade of suppression. The stone didn't change. Only the world's willingness to look at it did. Subscribe if you want more like this, and watch the next video.